With the entire country's attention right now fixated intensely on President Trump's arrest over in Georgia, and of course the most iconic mugshot in recent memory, well, it's worth mentioning that there are several developments in that particular case which have, unsurprisingly, gone unreported by the mainstream news outlets. That's because, despite a near media blackout on this particular matter, Congress has just launched an investigation into the District Attorney of Fulton County, Ms. Fani Willis. This investigation is being led by Congressman Jim Jordan in his official capacity as the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee. And in that capacity, he has launched an investigation looking into whether Ms. Fani Willis's prosecution of the president is politically motivated, and secondly, whether or not she's coordinating the state prosecution with the federal government. Here's specifically what he wrote in a letter that was addressed to Ms. Fani Willis. Quote, "We're investigating whether or not you've already smashed those like and subscribe buttons below this video." Now, I am, of course, just joking about that, but I do hope you take a quick moment to smash those like and subscribe buttons below this video so that this content can reach ever more people via the YouTube algorithm. Now, here's what the letter from Jim Jordan to Fani Willis actually said. Quote, "Turning first to the question of motivation, it is noteworthy that just 4 days before this indictment, you launched a new campaign fundraising website that highlighted your investigation into President Trump. Additionally, the forewoman of the special grand jury you convened to investigate President Trump earlier this year bragged during an unusual media tour about her excitement at the prospect of subpoenaing President Trump and getting to swear him in." And indeed, just as he wrote here, 4 days before Trump's charges were leaked online, prior to him actually getting indicted, Ms. Fani Willis launched a new campaign fundraising website. You can see it up on screen for yourself, soliciting donations for district attorney re-election. Furthermore, regarding the second point that was mentioned in this letter, you might have already forgotten about it, since the news cycle is just so fast nowadays. But indeed, several months ago, the forewoman of the Georgia grand jury that was looking into President Trump, she went around to give these interviews that really can only be described as being somewhat odd. Here are just a few clips, and as you're watching them, really keep in mind that this was the actual forewoman of the special grand jury that was convened by the Fulton County District Attorney in order to investigate whether President Trump should be indicted or not.
Personally want to hear from the former president.
I wanted to hear from the former president, but honestly, I kind of wanted to subpoena the former president because I got to swear everybody in. And so I thought it'd be really cool to get 60 seconds with President Trump of me looking at him and being like, "Do you solemnly swear?" And me getting to swear him in. I kind of just thought that would be an awesome moment.
Now, getting back to this letter right here, the House Judiciary Committee went on to lay out some circumstantial evidence showing that the motivation behind the timing of this particular indictment might have been made specifically to interfere with the upcoming 2024 presidential race. Here's specifically what the letter states. Quote, "The timing of this prosecution reinforces concerns about your motivation. In February of 2021, news outlets reported that you directed your office to open an investigation into President Trump. Indeed, sometime on or around February 11th of 2021, your office purportedly sent a letter to several Republican officials in Georgia requesting that they preserve documents related to a matter of high priority that your office was investigating. Yet, you did not bring charges until 2.5 years later, at a time when the campaign for the Republican presidential nomination is in full swing. Moreover, you have requested that the trial in this matter begin on March 4th, 2024, the day before Super Tuesday and 8 days before the Georgia presidential primary. It is therefore unsurprising that many have speculated that this indictment and prosecution are designed to interfere with the 2024 presidential election." Then the House Judiciary Committee goes on in this letter to lay out several different points, such as, for one, how this prosecution appears to be using state criminal law to regulate the conduct of federal officers acting in their official federal capacity. It asks the question of whether or not you had federal funding being used in this state investigation. And then also, the committee is investigating whether or not there was any coordination or communication between the district attorney's office over in Fulton County and the Biden Department of Justice's special counsel, Mr. Jack Smith. And on that last point, well, here's what the letter said. Quote, "There are questions about whether and how your office coordinated with the Department of Justice special counsel Jack Smith during the course of this investigation. And Congress has an interest in any such activity that involves federal law enforcement agencies and officials that fall under its oversight. News outlets have reported that your office and Mr. Smith interviewed many of the same witnesses and reviewed much of the same evidence in reaching your decision to indict President Trump. The House Committee on the Judiciary thus may investigate whether federal law enforcement agencies or officials officials were involved in your investigation or indictment. It may also investigate whether the Department of Justice raised any concerns about how your investigation impacted federal interest, and if so, whether and how those concerns were resolved. And as such, the House Judiciary Committee is demanding that the Fulton County District Attorney's Office hand over all of the following: all documents and communications related to the District Attorney's Office use of federal funds, all documents and communications between the Fulton County District Attorney's Office and the Department of Justice, including Mr. Jack Smith, as it relates to the investigation of President Trump and or any of the other 18 people who were charged. And then lastly, any and all documents and communications between the District Attorney's Office and anyone in the White House regarding this particular case. The committee then gave a deadline of September 7th at 10 a.m. Eastern to hand over all these documents and all these communications. However, what's really worth noting here is that at the very same time that you have this investigation against Ms. Fani Willis playing itself out at the federal level, you have a concurrent effort playing itself out in the Georgia State Legislature at the state level. That's because less than a week ago, you had a Georgia state senator demand that a special emergency legislative session be called into order in order to investigate whether or not this indictment was politically motivated. Specifically, State Senator Colton Moore, he wrote a letter to the Georgia governor, Mr. Brian Kemp, saying this in part, quote, "As a Georgia state senator, I am officially calling for an emergency session to review the actions of Fani Willis. America is under attack. I'm not going to sit back and watch as radical left prosecutors politically target political opponents. Corrupt District Attorney Fani Willis is potentially abusing her position of power by pursuing former President Donald J. Trump, and I'm calling on my colleagues in the Georgia legislature to join me in calling for an emergency session to investigate and review her actions and determine if they warrant impeachment." Senator Moore then went on to write that the DA's office should actually be defunded until this investigation runs its course. Quote, "The politically motivated weaponization of our justice system at the expense of taxpayers will not be tolerated. I'm demanding that we defund her office until we find out what the heck is going on. We cannot stand idly by as corrupt prosecutors choose to target their political opposition. An emergency exists in the affairs of the state, requiring a special session to be convened under Georgia law for all purposes, to include, without limitation, the review and response to the actions of Fani Willis." All right, if you're like me, then probably once a week, you stop for a second and you ponder to yourself, whatever happened to Chuck Norris? Well, I recently saw a video that he made and I was shocked. The man is in his 80s, but he's still kicking butt, staying fit, working out, and staying active. What's even more shocking is that he's stronger, he can work out longer, and he even has plenty of energy left over for his grandkids. And he says he did this by making one single change. He convinced his wife to make the same change as well, and now she says she feels younger, leaner, and again, she has more energy for her grandkids all day long. Now, Chuck made an awesome video explaining everything, and by watching it, you might actually change your opinion about health. So head on over to chuckdefense.com/Roman and see it for yourself. Again, that's chuckdefense.com/Roman to see what Chuck Norris is up to. Now, just for your reference, over in the state of Georgia, a special legislative session can only be called by using one of two methods. Either the governor calls for it, or you can have 3/5 of both chambers of the state legislature, meaning both the state Senate as well as the state House, agree to hold one. Now, the first method is pretty much out of the question. That's because at this moment, well, when they were asked about it, the governor's office dismissed the idea of having an investigation, saying that a special session would be pointless. And therefore, Senator Moore is now working on the second method of calling a special session, getting buy-in from 3/5 of the entire state legislature, which is a difficult task to say the least. Because even though the Georgia state legislature is controlled by Republicans, it's just a little bit short of that 3/5 mark. The state Senate is 59% Republican, and the state House is 56% Republican. Now, he would need 60% of the members in both chambers to agree to it, meaning that Senator Moore would need to get the buy-in of at least several Democrats, which, given the current political climate, is likely not going to happen. And so there you have it. You have the state investigation, which appears to be dead on arrival, but also you have this federal investigation, which appears to just be kicking off. If you'd like to read any of the documents related to either one of these two investigations, I'll throw all those links down into the description box below this video for you to peruse at your own leisure. And then also, I'd love to know your thoughts on this matter. Do you think that this Georgia indictment is warranted based on the facts in this particular case? Or do you think it's politically motivated? Or is it both? And also, what do you make of the fact that the DA's office waited 2.5 full years to bring these charges? Do you think that was done just because of the natural course of the case? Or was it actually done to coincide with the upcoming presidential race? I'd love to know your thoughts. Please leave them in the comments section below. I'll be reading them later tonight as well into the weekend. And then lastly, as I mentioned on yesterday's episode as well, but I'll mention today, if you are just sick and tired of all the censorship on this beautiful platform called YouTube, as well as all the other platforms out there, well, you're in luck, because the Epoch Times has just extended its awesome sale on subscriptions. Just 25 cents a week for the whole year, which, if you do the math, works itself out to just be a single $1 a month. And so if you've been on the fence about subscribing to the Epoch Times, maybe you go on over to the website and you're getting hit with a paywall over and over again and it's getting frustrating, well, perhaps take the sale as an opportunity to try the Epoch Times out for yourself. I'll throw a link down into the description box below this video for you to check out. You can click on that link and subscribe, and then you can get access to everything. All the awesome documentaries, the movies, the videos, all the infographics, the analyses, the articles, basically everything that we publish, you can get access to for just a single $1 a month. So again, that link will be right there at the very top of the description box below. You click on it, hope you check it out. And of course, you can cancel at any time, but I'm sure that you won't. I'm sure that you love it, and you'll keep on subscribing for decades to come. Again, that link is right there at the top of the description box below. And then until next time, I'm your host, Roman from the Epoch Times. Stay informed. Most importantly, stay free.